world, it's Keely and I'm back for another video. This is going to be starting my week 3 vlog. I'm getting it together slowly, very slowly. So week 1 was just totally me sitting here. Week 2 I had like extra clips and shit, and then I uploaded it and realized that I completely forgot to add music over the like boring points when I was typing and stuff. I'm getting there. And I could take it down and add the music and then save it and re-upload it, but it took like 2 hours to upload, so I'm not doing that. So I'm so sorry. Just like hum to yourself or skip through those parts. That's totally fine. The coursework has been posted, but honestly, I've not been in the mood to do coursework today because the coursework that I did this morning to get my discussion board post up just it wiped me out, and I don't want to deal with the course today. So I'm not doing any coursework today. But I figure I will talk to you guys about books and show you my new phone case and talk about some stuff. This is a phone case that I've had since I got my phone. I have an iPhone 11, I think, something like that. I've had it for years. Once I paid it off, I was like, this is my phone until I die. That's just what's gonna happen now. So I will use it until I cannot use it anymore. So this is the case that I have. There's nothing wrong with it per se. The matte part is just coming off, and my little Baphomet pop socket is like crusty. I mean, not crusty, just the edges are coming off. So I ordered a new case from Etsy, which is just the cat from Kiki's delivery service. I thought that was super duper cute. And then I got a little dude, what are these called? No name, no face, no name, something like that. So these together will be my new phone situation. I am very excited about it because I like whimsy. I want more whimsy in my life. And this I am not going to get rid of. I'm just going to keep because that's how my brain works. I get something new and I'm like, well, I better keep the old one just in case. It wasn't until like last month that I finally got rid of my old phone, which was an Android phone, and I've been on Apple products since like 2021. 2020, something like that. So I finally got rid of that phone. Not only that, it was that phone plus the generation before it of like my life in phones. And I went through and my husband was like, why do you have these? And I was like, I don't know, just in case. And it's like, you wouldn't be able to use them. The SIM cards aren't active, but whatever. So I got that today. I'm very excited about. I also want to tell you guys about this app that I just started using. I saw Jen Campbell talk about it and decided to see if the app exists for the United States too, and it does. It's called Merlin, and it's from the Cornell Ornithology Lab, and it's a bird sounds app. It's so cool. I used it when we went to the park this past weekend. We sat in the car to read because it was raining. We normally sit at a bench, but we sat in the car, and I put my window down and I just held my phone up to like the open air, and we watched as it listened for bird sounds, and then the different birds in the park popped up on the app of like, these are the birds in the area and these are the sounds that you're hearing, which is so cool, so unbelievably cool. I'm very excited to use this app more and to especially use it when we go on hikes. I think that would be really cool. I guess I'm just that age where bird watching and bird sounds are going to be entertaining for me, so I'm super excited about that. Let's talk then about the books that I am currently reading. I will talk more about the books that I finished in a wrap-up. I haven't done any wrap-ups yet for this year, but I figure I will do a wrap-up soon of the first maybe like 10 books that I've read so far this year. I don't know how many I've read. I track it on my story graph, but I know I start more books than I'm finishing right now, but that's okay. Went to the bookstore to get my pre-order of John Green's new book, which is Everything is Tuberculosis. And I read that book all weekend and finished it, and it was wonderful. It's about 200 pages, so it's not terribly long, but it was super duper good. Really, really enjoyed it. And then I picked up some other books. I got Little Women by Louisa May Alcott because I will be reading this summer. I have had copies of that over the years and have never finished the book because I've never seen a Little Women adaptation, so I don't know anything about what happens. The most that I know is from the episode of Friends when Joey reads Little Women and Rachel reads The Shining. And yep, they swap books because The Shining is his favorite book and Little Women is her favorite book. That's all that I know about it. I know that like some tragic stuff happens, but the reason I've never finished it in the past is because I would get bored so fast that like nothing was happening. We were just talking about these sisters, but I'm determined to read it so that then my husband and I can watch the I think it's the most recent adaptation that has Saoirse Ronan in it, who we absolutely love. Got the box set of his Dark Materials to finally read all the way through. I've read the first book a couple times, but never continued on, so I got it again so that I can read through that whole trilogy. I'm very excited about it. And I got a couple more books. So this one is a classic that I've never read, but it sounds really fascinating. This is The Master and Margarita, translated by Mira Ginsburg from Mikhail Bulgakov, I guess. This one's weird. It's about the devil and this giant cat named Behemoth that's fast talking and vodka drinking. It just sounds really weird, and I'm super excited for this one. Then I got another edition of Frankenstein that I didn't already have. I have a shelf in the hallway that is all my collection, of every edition of Frankenstein that I find that I really like. There are plenty of editions that I don't have. I don't collect them just to have. I collect the cool ones or the ones that I find fascinating, and I didn't have this one. And this one looks more like Scrooge than anything else to me, so that's why I was so fascinated by this one. But yes, and I have another copy of Frankenstein. Then I got Wide Sargasso Sea by Jean, I assume Jean. And this one is a kind of Jane Eyre-esque inspired classic. It's pretty short. Very excited for this one. I heard about this one from Emma's channel. She had to read it when she was in undergrad for her English degree, and I also want to read it. And then I got this one that I'm hoping to read very soon. This one is My Friends by Hisham Matar, and this one is about friendship and family, and the main character leaves their home in Libya to go to college, and then there is a protest that they attend that becomes really violent, and they end up developing a really close friendship with someone, and it like tests their knowledge of the world and their existence in the world. So I just think that was going to be really fascinating, and I want to read that one for Arab American Heritage Month, which is this month. And then the final one that I grabbed was this one, which is an Ursula K. Le Guin book that I didn't have. This one is 5 Ways to Forgiveness with an introduction by Nadia Corfor, who I also love. If you don't know, Ursula K. Le Guin is one of my favorite authors. I don't think I've talked about her since I came back to BookTube, but I've read a handful of her books and short stories, and this one is part of the Hainish cycle, so that includes The Dispossessed and The Left Hand of Darkness, which I have read both and I really enjoy. So I want to read this one. Those are all the books that I have purchased recently. Like I said, I finished, I keep wanting to call it the Anthropocene Reviewed. That's his old book. I finished Everything is Tuberculosis over the weekend, and then I read the 2 graphic novels that I had on my shelf that were still unread, and they were both wonderful. And then I finished the chapter that I was reading in People Love Dead Jews by Dara Horn. I gotta say, this book is so out of my comfort zone and makes me feel really, really stupid about the world, because it's about Judaism and Jewish people and Jewish culture, and it's such an old, like, historical religion and culture that there's so much to it that even just one book talking about it in different like contexts makes me feel so dumb, because I'm like, what? I don't know what those words are. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know any of that. I am going to continue reading this one because I think it's good to read books out of your comfort zone, especially nonfiction, but I definitely know that a lot of it is going completely over my head. I'm going to try to continue to like look stuff up as I read it, but this will probably be one that like, this is like a knowledge building just to expose me to concepts and words, and then hopefully I can continue to read more and build that knowledge. I have a bunch of reading I would love to get done over this week. I have some stuff to do for work. Let me actually pull up my schedule. Today I didn't have any meetings, which was wonderful. Tomorrow I have one meeting, which is not till the afternoon. Wednesday I have 2 meetings and a book event virtually for my online course. Thursday I have a webinar that I'm producing, and Friday I have an event to attend just virtually, and then another meeting. And then I have just like other stuff to do throughout the week. Earlier today I broke out the rug shampooer again. I just broke it out a couple weeks ago and did an area upstairs. We want to like shampoo the entire upstairs, but that's going to take forever. But I broke it out again because my lovely little rescue dog, who I love so very much, got excited that we came home over the weekend, because it's been a while since we both have left at the same time, and we left on Saturday and we're gone for a couple hours to celebrate my husband's birthday. And we came back and my little chihuahua got so excited, and she got the zoomies and we were playing, and she got a little bit too excited and she peed on the carpet. So I would just wanted to like aggressively shampoo that area and be like, okay, get all the enzymes out of it so that she doesn't do it again. So I fought with that earlier after fighting with my discussion board, and my day just kind of got away from me. But that's okay, because I did get some reading done and I'm almost done work. So this afternoon we're just gonna hang out. I also want to start another reading vlog. I have all these video ideas, things that I want to film, things that I want to read, but I'm just gonna try to take it easy because I've been right on the edge of a panic attack for the last like 4 or 5 days. I definitely felt it pretty hard over the weekend when I took myself to a bookstore and was looking for a copy of a book, but it's a bookstore that I haven't been to that many times, and it was a half-hour drive away, which is normally fine, but between driving through this one section of roads that I hate and are very confusing, and then being in the bookstore that was so completely packed. If you've ever been in like a used bookstore, like one of those quirky indie bookstores where it's definitely a fire hazard in there with the amount of books, and the aisles are really skinny, and the music was really loud for some reason. There were a billion people in there. There was a woman in there with her teenage daughter who would not shut up. Like, the daughter was fine. The mom wouldn't shut up. The daughter was like clinging on her and like trying to get her attention stuff, and the mom just like freaked out at her. Like, the mom must have been overstimulated and she just yelled at her daughter, and I was like, you're making it worse. Leave, go get fresh air, take your daughter outside and then regroup and come back in. But in the moment she just yelled at her kid, and then there were people just talking the whole time. I was like, you're in a bookstore, shut up, like just be quiet. And then I walked through this one area. Not only was there a group of people talking about every possible book they saw on the shelves, but then there was this couple, and this dude had so much cologne on. So much. And it was just like every possible sense was overwhelmed. My smell was overwhelmed. My hearing was overwhelmed, because there's so much going on and so many people, and I have PTSD, so I get hypervigilant when I get anxious. So my vision was like bouncing all over, like taking in what everyone was wearing, what everyone looks like, where's everyone standing. That it was just a lot. So by the time I got home, I was like ready to snap, ready to go full on panic attack. But thankfully, my husband kind of helped talk me out of it, like talk me down. And then I just laid on the couch, like I just collapsed on the couch and had a bunch of water, and then ended up taking a nap with my dog. And that healed me. So that's a sign to me when if I have a panic attack, or if I'm getting closer and closer to one, that I know that I need to pull back and reevaluate. So that's what I'm doing. After work today, we're just hanging out. We have a pull-out couch that we got from Costco that we absolutely love, and every weekend we turn the couch into the full like bed thing and just cover it in blankets and lounge and watch TV, and he plays video games and stuff. And normally Sunday night we turn it back into a couch, but we didn't. We're leaving it as a couch for the foreseeable future, because we both just need to relax and decompress as much as possible. I don't know if I'm going to keep any of this in. I might edit all of this out, but figured I would just go ahead and vent for now. I have some stuff that I want to start working on for the end of my work day, and then that will probably be it in terms of filming. I will be back tomorrow. All right, good morning. It is Tuesday and I am determined to get my life together today because yesterday just did not go how I had planned, and I can tell that my brain is starting to struggle a little bit because I've got piles of books in multiple places, and that is not not ideal. What I'm going to do is just kind of clean up my desk a little bit, put some things back where they go. I have a ton of these tabbies for reading and taking notes, and they all need to be put away. My water and my iced coffee. I need to make a to-do list for today, and I need to get some of these books off of my desk because I have ones that I'm currently reading, and then I have ones that I want to start reading. The ones I want to start reading can be put elsewhere. So these are all new books. They need to be off my desk. They're not where they're supposed to go, but that is perfectly fine. They're gonna go just off of my desk for right now because, oh my God, too much crap. It gets built up so fast, and then it just adds to my day. And I had a sweatshirt on because I was cold, but if you're someone that can get like sensory overload like I am, you know that sometimes in order to be productive, you need to have one less layer on, like things not touching your arms. I do that all the time where I'll be wearing a sweatshirt and then I'm like, oh, okay, well, I gotta do dishes, or, you know, I gotta get up and make dinner or go do some other chore, and I take off my sweatshirt and just have a t-shirt. And my husband's always like, what are you doing? I'm like, I can't have things on my arms and hands when I have stuff to do. It's just a leftover tactile thing from when I was little that I have that. But all right, this is looking a little bit better. My desk behind me, my personal desk, is a little bit out of control, but we are going to make our to-do list for today. So to do, clean up desk, and I can cross that off because I literally just did that. Now, when I also have this little guy, which I think is a sticker. It is a sticker. Oh my God. Okay, I was going to put this on my wall. I have a board over there, but do I have room on my laptop for Totoro? I don't really. It would cover up everything and wouldn't really go with it. Okay, let's look at my coursework for this week because I didn't look at it really at all yesterday. I was so pissed off by not being able to post my discussion board that once it was done, I just closed my laptop and was done with schoolwork. But we have this week's work to do, and I want to look through what it actually is. Oh, did she grade it already? She did, yay, okay. And left a generic comment about doing the homework. Yay, okay. That's one good thing about having a really small class, is that the professor has like 3 people to grade. And so if you get yours submitted first, you get your grade back really fast. All right, we are now in week 3. So this is Rescue in the Rwandan Genocide. So let's see. Oh boy, okay, how long is this? Oh, it's just a 1-pager. Okay, I have to read a 1-pager about Rwanda history. Then we have an actual journal article. Okay, so this will be our next one. This one is called I Decided to Save Them, Factors That Shape Participation in Rescue Efforts During Genocide in Rwanda by Nicole Fox and Holly Neseth-Brem in the, what journal is this? Journal of Social Forces. So I will read that. That's 25 pages. And then we have a video to watch, and then respond with either a text post or a video post, your choice, whichever medium you prefer. Text, oh my God, I'm not going to deal with video again. That was annoying. And the question is, how did biographical availability, socialization, and situational context shape the decisions and abilities of Rwandans to rescue persecuted individuals? Availability, socialization, and situational context. Okay. Just rewording the exact same questions that we've had to ask, or that we've been asked through the other courses, like the other weeks, which is totally fine. So I will be working on that, and then I will come back and update you guys later today. All right, it's been all of 5 minutes, but I read the brief history paper that was shared, and then so I got a very basic understanding of what happened and the kind of reasons behind what happened in Rwanda. Again, very, very, very basic understanding. I would not say that I know really anything yet. The article appears to be just kind of a standard journal article. So I reviewed the abstract, couldn't think of the word, reviewed the abstract and now have a general understanding of where the article is going to go, what they're going to try to do. So when you look through the abstract, I'm looking for the question that they're hoping to answer, why they think that they need to answer it, how they are going to answer it. And then I put that in my notes. What I typically do is I put the name of the article and the authors, and then I put the year that the article came out so that if, you know, there's like a stack of articles, I would know, okay, well, I want the one from 2018. That also helps give me context of how old is this article. So since this one is from 2018, that's not that long ago. I would expect some of this information to not have changed, but you never know. So we'll really have to see what the article says. The question that they are asking in this article is what social factors shaped Rwandans' decisions and abilities to save persecuted individuals? How are they going to try to answer that question? Well, they said they're going to analyze 35 interviews and a survey of 273 rescuers from Rwanda. I'm like, okay, that's what they're going to do. They're going to analyze things that were already created. So this is going to be more of a qualitative journal article then, because they're looking at interview answers and a survey. They're not necessarily looking at a whole bunch of like numbers. They're not, you know, quantitative would make it numbers. Qualitative is typically text. I typed up a quote from the abstract that says, although much previous literature has established or has emphasized the role of stable personality traits in influencing such high-risk decisions, conceptualizing rescue as dynamic collective action enables us to examine social and contextual factors. Okay, so they're saying previously, you know, even we saw this in week 1, where the literature on rescue during genocide has been typically on establishing altruism as a personality trait and looking at the personalities of the people, but asking, Allender did ask kind of bigger conceptual questions of like, you know, contextual questions of like, you know, was it an opportunity thing where you physically asked to be a rescuer, but you would have to have the personality traits. This was basically what he was saying. You'd have to have the personality traits to then utilize the situations to end up being a rescuer. And then it says, specifically, we illustrate how biographical availability, socialization, and situational context coalesce to make rescue possible. Okay, so they're saying, yes, we kind of agree that you need to have certain personality traits, but it's not as simple as having personality traits. You need to also then have opportunity and all of those things to then make the decision to become a rescuer. Basically, it needs to be a potentially conscious decision, but it needs to make sense. So they're saying, you know, okay, people that acted as rescuers did so because of where they lived or who they lived with or their, you know, their life experience. And the brief histories that I read will kind of support that, because the time period of what I'll be looking at was very, very short compared to others that had lasted years and years. And also, what makes this one different was that there was no outside intervention. So it was all within Rwanda. There was no, you know, no other countries showed up and tried to do anything until later on, if it was even still happening. I don't know the full timeline, but basically the brief history said this was a very internalized thing that was happening, which would support what the authors of the journal article are saying, in that it, you know, the people that decided to be rescuers lived there and they saw it happening. But I will also find out through reading the article if that is the case for everyone that was a rescuer, or if there were people from neighboring countries that came in and supported or you know, had acted as a rescuer. So that is what the article looks like it's going to be covering. I also now understand why the professor phrased the question in the way that she did, because that's the language that the authors of the journal article are using. But now what I'm going to do is something I've been wanting to do. I am going to take a break from that reading, because that's going to be intense. Again, not that, you know, the previous weeks were easy to read by any means, but I was at least slightly familiar with what I was going into. This will be completely brand new to me. What I'm going to do now, though, is put my laptop to the side. Sorry, I'm like bumping my desk. Put my laptop to the side and focus on work for a while. And then when I have a break, I will come back to coursework and trying to get the other things done that I need to work on. Hey friends, it is Wednesday. Again, my dudes. And I have stuff to do today. Surprise, surprise, I have stuff to do every day. But I'm trying to do like a brain reset, like get my day off to a good start. This morning I woke up a little bit early so I could have some extra time to myself to just like relax, which was honestly amazing. And then I continued with scanning in another 2 shelves of my book collection. And as of right now, I have scanned in 347 books. I've read 122 of those. So that's 225 then unread. However, I am currently reading a lot of them. I think of the ones that I think I'm reading 13. Something like that. I've been tracking them all on my Storygraph. I use Storygraph for tracking my reading, and I decided that this year what I'm gonna do is every book that I start, I'm going to put on my Storygraph as like a currently reading book, and I am not going to remove those no matter what. So I mean, if like I start a book and I decide to get rid of it, I'll remove it because then it doesn't count towards my TBR. But I thought it would be interesting to see how many books I actually start throughout the year. I think at least definitely 1, maybe 2 of those books that are on my currently reading I started last year and I just haven't finished. But at least 1 of them, I'm very close. Like as I was scanning it, I found it on my shelf and I have like a small section left and I was like, what the hell? Like I'm so close to finishing this book. So I'm going to track all of the books that I start, and then by the end of the year, I will report back and let you know how many books I actually start throughout the year and how many I then finish. Last night, I did finish a book. I finished Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden, and oh my God, oh, it was so good. One of my new favorite books. I loved that book so much. That's a historical fiction with some spooky twists. Freaking loved that book so much. It had a couple twists at the end that I did not see coming. One twist that it wasn't really a twist. It was just kind of like a relationship wrapped up. 2 relationships actually like wrapped up exactly how I wanted them to. I was so happy with that. So I finished that one last night, and then I, using my ebook version of this book, made more progress in Starter Villain by John Scalzi. So now I'm almost halfway through. This is the book that I will be continuing to read the ebook version and try to get this one completed relatively soon. That would be amazing. I read 7 chapters of this last night. The chapters are very short. This is a fast moving book, so that's how I'm already about 50% of the way through. And then because I've been like on the verge of a panic attack for the last week or so, I decided yesterday after work to, instead of spending that time on my laptop or my phone, I decided to put everything aside and read instead for a portion of that time, and then just kind of vibe and like sit there and stare into the void. And so of course I started another book, but this one's very short. This one is What Was Shakespeare Really Like by, what is this guy's name? Stanley Wells, and it had a foreword from Stephen Fry. So Stanley Wells, I think he's still alive. I don't know, but this is a collection of a couple lectures that he gave with like some additional content at a university on Shakespeare. He is a Shakespeare historian. I think he, according to Stephen Fry, he's like one of the best out there. He's been studying Shakespeare for like 50 years, something ridiculous like that. And so this is a collection of just like his essays, and I thought it would be fun to sit down and read something completely different and kind of absorb that content. So I read the first essay last night, which is What Manner of Man Was He? And he's really looking at obviously historically because Shakespeare's been dead for a long time, but he was looking at biographies that people have written about Shakespeare, Shakespeare's actual writing, and then writing from his contemporaries, so people that lived at the same time as Shakespeare, to try to figure out like what kind of dude was Shakespeare, because we have obviously a lot of his writing, but none of it, or at least very little of it, if any, is very introspective. It's not like, we don't have like a Shakespeare's diary, like we don't have anything like that. So there's always been this question of like, well, what kind of dude was Shakespeare? Was he like chill? Was he a bully? Who was he? Definitely made me want to read 1599, which is focuses on the year 1599 of Shakespeare's life, and I've heard it's amazing, and so I really want to read it. But the next essay is called How Did Shakespeare Write a Play? And yesterday when I was going through, this is something I want to do again. When I was going through the possible online courses to take for fall, I know that there was at least one that's on like European literature, and I want to see if it says like 16th century because I would love to read and like actually formally learn about Shakespeare. I had a couple of his plays that were assigned in school, like we had to read Hamlet, we had to read Romeo and Juliet, but that was it. And I have since read other plays, but I definitely don't feel like I retain any of it. And it's very hard to read Shakespeare, for me at least, with no support, no like further context. So I would really love to take like a class that's specifically about Shakespeare. So let me check to see what classes they will be teaching for late summer and fall. Okay, I'm gonna do some digging today online and see if I can find maybe an archived Shakespeare course from another university, because that's something I think would be fun to do. I'm definitely, oh, did I say what percentage of my books I've read so far? So of the ones that I've scanned in, I've read 35% of them, which is about what I was kind of thinking I would be at, given how many I've scanned in, because I've primarily focused on all of my unread books scanning. So I have 2 shelves left on my rightmost bookcase to scan in. And I know the majority of the ones that I can see, like towards the front, are ones that are unread. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 that I can like are facing me that I have read. And there are probably some behind the front shelves, the front stacks, that are also read. There definitely is a big stack on the very top shelf. In the back, those are all read. And then the leftmost bookcase that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves is 99% read. That has, I think, only 2 books that I can see. 3 books that I can see that are unread. All of those are read. So, or 4 books. Okay, 4 books that I can see that are unread. I've read everything else. So I know my numbers are going to go up, because the bulk of my unread books are the bottommost, like the frontmost. This is confusing because each shelf has 4 stacks. The back 2 stacks of every shelf is pretty much completely read. So it's basically just the front stacks, a lot of the books on my rainbow shelves, and then my entire TBR cart, which is 3 shelves with 2 layers. I read a lot of the books that I own, which is good. That is my plan, is to continue reading the books. Today, I am working on a to-do list. I have, let me pull up my calendar. I have a meeting from 10 to 11, and then 12:30 to 1, and then 1:30 to 2. Otherwise, I will just be working and taking random breaks to continue some of my schoolwork. And my husband and my sister yesterday about how maybe taking the online course that I'm taking right now was not the best idea, because for months, I think, at least about 3 months solidly, like January, February, March, I was just absorbing a ton of news content and social justice content and historical about racism and slavery and American history and all kinds of stuff. I was just like bombarding my brain with it because I was in a space emotionally, mentally, psychologically where I could handle all of that. And part of that was like, oh, dope. I found this online course on genocide studies. I'm going to take that course. It's going to be amazing. I love it. Now I'm in week 3 of the course. I am in my 4th month of absorbing this kind of content, and I am done. Emotionally broken for right now. I've been very irritable, very hyper vigilant, very like having a hard time focusing. Like yesterday I texted my husband at the beginning of the day and I was like, I have so much I need to do, so much I want to do, and zero ability to do any of those things completely. I kept starting and stopping things all throughout the day yesterday, and I did eventually get some stuff done. Like I had some laundry I wanted to get done of like blankets, and then I wanted to vacuum the upstairs, which I did, and I wanted to change the sheets on the bed, which I did. But it was like I didn't start something and then see it all the way through. It's like I started something, then I started something, then I started something, then I started something, then I went back and I completed that one, and I completed that one, and then I started something, and that's why like I started another book. Like I'm reading 12. Why did I start another one? Or no, now I finished a book last night, but then I immediately started another one. I didn't actually like feel like I completed anything. And that's very indicative of where my brain is at, in that I'm just really struggling with my nervous system, where I'm just kind of all over the place. And even yesterday, like I ended the day yesterday with a short meeting for work. That was not necessarily bad news. It was just more of the like, we don't know what's going to happen. Everything is kind of on fire right now. For today, you have a job. That's essentially what the meeting was. And by the end of that meeting, I had gone almost completely nonverbal. I was really struggling to find my words, to feel connected to my body and like the earth. I was trying to talk to my husband about it, about the meeting, and he also has been really stressed, so he was getting distracted, and then that was pissing me off, and I was getting so irritable and so angry. At one point, I just like stepped away, and I stood in the bathroom with the door shut for like a minute, and I was like, okay, calm down. He is not doing anything to warrant the kind of visceral reaction that you are having right now. It's just your capacity to like be rational is gone. So I just stood in the bathroom and I like calmed myself down, and I was like, okay, now it's just not the time to talk about this stuff, to think about this stuff. So I just turned it off and we went to the gym and I got a good run in. It felt great. And then I came back home and we just hung out on the couch. He played a video game. We watched the new season of Game Changer for Dropout. Like that just started. So we watched the first episode last night, which was incredible. Season 7, episode 1 was probably my favorite episode of Game Changer ever. So we watched that, which was an hour. We ate dinner, and then I just sat there and read until it was time to take my dog for a walk. And even taking my dog for a walk, normally I try to direct her a little bit in where to go. I try to give her time, like you should give your dog time to sniff everything, because that's how they absorb the world. So I do typically let her sniff whatever. I don't like yank her like, come on, unless it's like freezing outside or she's about to step in like salt, like for the sidewalks, and I don't want her feet to get burned. But last night I was like, okay, I'm just gonna let her take the reins, because it's also something that, like, as I have a rescue dog and she's very skittish still, and so we try to constantly build up her confidence and tell her like, yes, you're doing the right thing, like you're amazing. And so I just let her take us for a walk last night, and it was so fascinating just watching her, of like where she wanted to go. And so like if she stopped and just looked around, I just stopped. I just stood there and I was like, are we good? Like, are you okay? And then she finally brought us back around, like we did this big loop and we came back up to almost to our doorway, to like this sidewalk at the end of our little area. And she looked at the door and then she just looked around, and I was like, are we going inside? And she was like, nope, I want to sniff. So she ended up taking me like back and forth through this field a couple times, and then eventually slowly made her way to the door, and then she just trotted right up to the door on her own, and I was like, okay, time to come in. And so yeah, it was a longer walk than normal, but it was like so calming. Also because it was nighttime and there was no one out. It was lovely. I'm gonna try to do that. I'm gonna try to do that again. It's just like just be present with my dog and my husband and read and remove myself from screens a little bit more, which is hard when I work from home and I have an online class that I need to do. But it's really just what I'm going to try to do because I know that my brain desperately needs a break. I have coursework that I need to keep working on, this long ass article that I need to read, and then I can move into the few videos that she needs us to watch, and then also the discussion question to wrap up the week. But I'm not going to try to rush through that. I'm going to just like vibe and see how much I can get done today, and just like try to not put so much pressure on myself. Even on my run yesterday, I haven't been wearing my Apple Watch because the band has been irritating my skin. So I haven't been wearing it, and I didn't wear it on my run, which I typically never do that. I like to record, have all the data of my run. But I was like, you know what? I know about how long it takes me to do a mile, so I'm just going to put on some music that I like and go for it. And I did, and it was lovely, and it felt so good. I'm putting too much pressure and expectations on myself right now, and I need to just pull back and just exist for a little bit. That's kind of my vibe for the rest of today, and I will check back in later and let you know how that's going. Okay, quick update clip from a weird angle. Everything on the right, that entire bookcase, so I'm trying to go behind my monitor, all of those shelves, all those books have been scanned in. The only thing I have left is the left side. All of those shelves need to be scanned in. And all of those books, I think except for 4, are read. My number of books read compared to owned is about to go through the roof, I think. I'm very excited to find out what it is. As of right now, I've scanned in 428 books. I've read 170 of them, so 258 unread. That's about 40% read. I might actually have 50% or more of my books read, maybe. I don't know how percentages work, but that would be amazing. That's going to take me a long time. There's no way I'm going to get all those scanned in today, but I might start on that today. Okay, time for another update. It's been a couple more hours. On my lunch break, I scanned in the 2 bottom shelves of my leftmost bookcase, and I am up to, 519 books scanned in, 263 unread, 256 read. So I'm at 49% read of my shelves, which is dope. And I'm looking and I see 1, 2, 3. Only 3 books, fingers crossed, of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Of potentially 12 stacks that are unread. That's so exciting. I can't wait to find out how many I actually have read versus unread. Also started reading a little bit more of this What Was Shakespeare Really Like book. I started the second essay, and so this one is called How Did Shakespeare Write a Play? And then earlier I was also looking for an online class about Shakespeare, and I found one. I found many. But basically, so the way that I find online classes and things that I'm interested in is I literally just Google online class about Shakespeare, and then I see what comes up. And so the first thing that came up is Harvard Online has 4 courses that are about Shakespeare in this like grouping. And so you can take these courses and pay money if you want to. So this is a 4-week program, self-paced, 5 to 7 hours a week. Certificate price is $149. So if you want a certificate from taking that class, you can do that. Then I was like, okay, I don't really want to pay for another course right now. I'd like to take something for free. There has to be something out there for free. So then I found edX. So edX is one of those resources that I mentioned in my previous videos where they have online courses for free that you can audit. And then you can also, if you want to, pay however much it costs for the course to do the actual assignments and then get a certificate of completion at the end. I clicked on the edX list, and they have a whole section just on Shakespeare, which I'm not surprised about. So they have a bunch of courses. They have Shakespeare's Hamlet, covering the Ghost, Othello, Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. So they have many courses breaking down his individual works, but they have one called Shakespeare's Life and Work. And the description says, learn how to read William Shakespeare's plays through his biography, Elizabethan and Jacobean history, and modern performance. And then I scroll through the course just to get an idea of what we would be learning. And so it looks like it's broken up into 3 sections. Part 1, biographical interpretation. Part 2, historical interpretation. And Part 3, presentist interpretation. And it's basically just giving background knowledge and context for Shakespeare and his writing so that hopefully you can then read his work and start to understand it. So I feel like this will be a really good foundational course to take. I'm going to start taking this course. Remember I said that I also signed up for a Paradise Lost course? I would like to take both of these at the same time along with my actual course that I paid for. But I just kind of am searching for the feeling of being in school and doing schoolwork without the impending doom that is the coursework. So that's why I want like fun stuff. Like I was talking to my supervisor earlier and we were for work and we were talking about my online class and she was like, okay, you're taking this online class and existing right now in the federal environment as a federal contractor and, just existing in the universe right now. What are you doing to cope? And I was like, I'm reading about Shakespeare. It's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm getting even farther removed from current life in order to cope. So that's what I am going to start working on. I'm going to build out my Notion page for Paradise Lost, which is right up there, and then also for Shakespeare, and just kind of dive in and do this. I texted my husband this morning, and I was in a webinar, and then I was in various meetings throughout the day, and you ever get to the point where everything is pissing you off? Just absolutely everything. Like any conversation with other people, it's like, just shut up, just stop talking. I was just getting so irritated at everyone's mouth noises and their mannerisms as they talked and how they were phrasing things and the questions they were asking. And so I texted my husband and I'm like, whoa, I am way off the charts overstimulated and I need to take a break from ridiculously intense course content on top of my current role for work and all of that, because for work I spent 6 hours today reviewing a training module on very difficult content. I had to so I had to review that and I just couldn't. I couldn't add them. As the next meeting came up, I was starting to feel like sick to my stomach, and I was like, I can't be around people. And then there were people out front, like maintenance people, because they were in my neighbor's apartment, and they were just standing out there talking to each other, which set off my dog because she doesn't like if there's people outside or dogs outside. So then she was barking, and I was losing it. I was just sitting here like imploding on myself. I decided that my brain needs a break. I'm going to continue to just lose myself in classic literature, and then at night as I'm falling asleep I will switch back to reading the John Scalzi book that I'm reading, and we'll just take it one day at a time. And today I just need a break. I just absolutely need a break, which is a very privileged thing to be able to do, like to be able to take a break from absorbing stressful content, but I just can't. I can't anymore. Very excited about this online course. Let me get my Notion opened and I will start that. I will probably be done scanning in my books for today because I scanned in many shelves and it's just such a pain in the ass to scan everything in and like pull them down off the shelf. But I'm very excited to find out. By the end of this week, I will have it all scanned in and I will be able to tell you what percentage I'm at. If I'm over 50% read of my shelves, that would be incredible because I've purchased so many books in the last like 6 months, and I know I've gotten rid of a bunch, but I didn't think I necessarily got rid of that many. So I'm very excited about that. So, all right, I'm gonna get started on the Shakespeare class. Okay, it is Thursday and I'm just getting my day started. I have to make a to-do list and I have 2 meetings today. I just finished filming my Q1 wrap up because I didn't finish a ton of books in Q1. And today I need to actually get some schoolwork done. Yesterday I took basically the entire day off from doing schoolwork except for one book event that I attended virtually for the graphic novel that we read, which was a graphic memoir. And then I got a bunch of reading done otherwise. I started reading, I think I said, the second story, the second essay in this short Shakespeare book yesterday, so I want to finish that today. But the bulk of what I read yesterday was from Starter Villain by John Scalzi. So you can see I am super duper close to the end now. I am up to chapter 24, page 215. I think I have about 50-ish pages left. Yeah. I'm very, very excited to see how this is going to wrap up because I've been enjoying it a lot. I'm just excited to have another book to check off of my April TBR because how many books did I put on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I put 15 books on my April TBR and I have finished 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I finished 5. If I could finish, I will definitely finish this one. And then I might pick up, which one do I want to read? Dating and Dismemberment, because I think that one will be a quicker read. And then later this week, I need to pick up my copy of Murder by Cheesecake, which I pre-ordered. Yeah, I think that if I read some of the more funsy books, so it'll be Murder by Cheesecake, Dating and Dismemberment, and then maybe Dating and Dragons or Once Upon a Broken Heart. It would be cool if I could knock those off of my TBR. But, okay, let me pull it up. I finished scanning in all of my books yesterday. I didn't think I was going to finish it, but I did because I was so excited to know what my final numbers were going to be. So let me pull up my Google Doc. I have a Google Doc where I'm keeping track of every book that I've purchased so far this year, and then how many of those I actually read, and then also the total amount of owned books to unread books. All of the books that are scanned into my reading app on my phone now are the books that are in this office. We have a shelf out in the hallway that's a collection of my books and my husband's books, primarily like mass market paperbacks that are fantasy or sci-fi, and then also my Frankenstein collection and other Mary Wollstonecraft books. The majority of those I have read, but I only wanted the books scanned in that I can physically see when I'm in my office, because these are the main ones that are most important to me that I want to actually work my way through. As of yesterday, which was the 9th, I scanned in 660 books, which is how many are in this room. Of those, I read 392. And that leaves 268 unread. So I've read 59% of the books that I own, which is wild. I definitely thought that with the amount of books that I purchased so far this year, that it would have thrown my numbers, because I know when I was keeping track of stuff early last year and the year before that I had been close to 50% read or had finally reached it. So I was convinced that my numbers were going to be like 30% read, but I was aiming for 40. 59% is dope. I am so excited about that. I couldn't stop talking about that last night with my husband. I was like, can you believe it? How cool is that? I don't have a specific number that I'd like to get to by the end of this year. Like I don't want to be like 75% read by the end of the year. I don't really care about that now that I'm over 50%. I mean, that could change because I change my mind lots of times throughout the year. But as of right now, my plan is to just continue to read the books that are coming in. And I think I do have a reading goal of this year to read like 50% of the books that I purchased throughout the year, which so far I'm not even close to. I've purchased, 57 books and I've read 4. So not even close, but a couple other ones will get finished soon. I'm excited about that. But anyway, yes, I have to make my to-do list for today in my notebook and then get this first meeting out of the way, get some schoolwork done, get some work done. I don't really have any chores around the house that I need to do today, which feels like the first day in forever that I can actually say that. It's really gonna be like a very heavy reading day to get a lot of stuff done. I also yesterday was able to schedule a haircut, which I'm super excited for because this drives me crazy. This is all supposed to be shaved. Same with the back. You can see how long it is. That drives me nuts. I need all of this shaved. So next week I'm getting a haircut. I'm so stoked for it. And also this weekend, my husband and I are going to our favorite tea place. There's a restaurant that's within an hour's drive of us that does afternoon tea, and we go a couple times a year, and the last time we went was I think August of last year. And so we're very excited to go because they have new monthly scones that are a part of the menu. So we're super excited for that. It's going to be like 40 degrees and raining all day on Saturday. So it will be perfect weather for afternoon tea. Yeah, I'm just like on the journey to continue to keep my mental health in check, keep my anxiety from getting too bad these days. Part of that is making sure that I am drinking enough water and that we're consistently going to the gym, and that I'm also taking time for myself away from really upsetting historical content, which is hard to do when you're taking an online class like I am, but that's okay. It's a process. We're learning. Now, okay, I'm gonna get focused. I'm gonna try to get stuff done. All right, we are ready to wrap up this vlog for this week. This morning I just focused my brain as hard as I could for an hour, and I got done all of the reading for this week, and I did my discussion board. So let me pull that up so that I can talk to you a little bit about what I had to do. I also have some reading updates and some plans for the weekend that I'm so excited about. This week we were learning about Rwanda, which I talked to you guys a little bit about. I took a couple days away from actual coursework because it was just very, very intense. But this morning I read the entire journal article. It ended up being 19 of 25 pages because there's always these citations at the end. This one was called Rescue Efforts During Genocide in Rwanda. I decided to save them, in quotes, factors that shape participation in rescue efforts during genocide in Rwanda. And then after I read that, and I took a bunch of notes as I always do, the next section was a documentary of survivors and rescuers talking about their experience. And then it said the discussion question was, how did biographical availability, socialization, and situational context shape the decisions and abilities of Rwandans to rescue persecuted individuals? And that, I mean, I took notes on those three things as I was reading the journal article, so you can watch that process kind of. I didn't really show you exactly what I was doing in my study with me video, but that's what I was doing. I was taking a crap ton of notes, and I will show you a clip of what those notes look like in a second when I talk about something else. I have a really, really long answer where I basically summarized sections of the journal article that we had to read, the study. So I'm done for the week, and because there's only like 4 people in the class, she graded it already, which is amazing. That's what my coursework was for this week. Let me flip my camera around so I can show you guys what my Notion looks like, and so I can answer a question that I got on a previous video. Let me pull up the video so I can thank the person who asked. Let's see, who asked me? Username is Murky David. So thank you, Murky David. He asked, can you search your notes? Can you search through all of your notes at once in Notion? So let me flip my camera around and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, this is my Notion page. I finally figured out how to get it to not show my last name, but this is what it looks like. So if you're on your Notion kind of homepage, this is what mine looks like. It's pretty basic. Like I said before, I would love for it to be fancy, but I don't have the energy to learn how to do that. So you can see for my rescue and resistance course, I broke it up into different weeks, and then we had a book discussion, so I have that as its own week. But then you can also see all of the other courses on the left-hand side that I have taken, all of the things that I have put into my Notion over the years. Well, David asked a good question, which is, are you able to actually search through all of your pages, or do you have to do it page by page? So how you do that is you come up to the left-hand side, the top left, and underneath your name where it says like this is your Notion page, you click this search button, and then it pops up, and okay, so you can see in the past week, the past 30 days, all of the things that I have messed with in my Notion. And then you can say, what should I look for? I will look for, I need a word that's going to be in everything. So let's look for the word book. So I type in book, and here you go. It's bringing up all of the instances of the word book through all of my pages. And then you can click on them and it'll take you right to that page. So you can see, obviously there's ones, you know, from recently, which is like, this is part of my online course. Here is something from a different class that I was taking, books on medieval history. I had made a page. Oops. I had made a page where I was documenting books on medieval history, book clubs for East Asian studies from last year, history, careers. So that's basically how you do it. It would let you search across all pages. I think if you're in a specific page, I don't know how to just search this. It's probably just like Control F in order to search a specific page. But if you want to search through all of your Notion pages, that's how you do it. Also, here's all of my, sorry if scrolling hurts your eyes, here's all of my notes from earlier, that study session that I did, and you can see I still do the same thing where I screenshot stuff that's too long to type up or that I think is just like, it's just gonna be faster. So you can see when the professor asked, okay, can you talk about the biographical availability? Sure, because I have a section on that. Can you talk about socialization? Sure. How about situational context? Sure. So I literally just had this page pulled up, and then I had the discussion question pulled up on the side, and that's how I was able to answer the question. And now let's go over the books and what I am currently reading. I finished last night Starter Villain by John Scalzi, which I absolutely loved. I kind of wish that this would have become a series. I wish the ending would have been slightly different. I think it had a good ending, but I do kind of wish it would have ended a little bit differently. Really enjoyed this one. And I also yesterday went through and I wrote down all of the authors that I'm trying to read, all of their work, and then marked off the books that I've read from them. So let me talk to you about the rest of the books I'm reading, and then we can go through this list because I think it's fascinating hearing about people's favorite authors and like how many of their books they've actually read. I also last night read I finished the second essay and read the third essay in this What Was Shakespeare Really Like book. And I did the Shakespeare online class. When you do an online class through like edX, if you don't pay for the full course material, you end up missing a lot of stuff. So it took me like 2 days to click through and watch all of the videos and take all of the notes and stuff for that Shakespeare course, which was looking at how to read Shakespeare. And the professor presented it in 3 different ways. You can read Shakespeare from a historical lens, which is considering the historical context in which Shakespeare lived as he was writing the plays and poems and all that. You can read it through a modern lens in terms of like you are trying to apply what your current situation is with life to this work. So you're reading Shakespeare as if it was written now, and does it contextually make sense? And then you can also read Shakespeare from his third lens, which the professor talked about, which was from Shakespeare as a person. So can you separate out art from artist? And if you don't separate out art from artist, how does that inform your reading of Shakespeare? And then to like basic Shakespeare life facts. So it was pretty cool taking that course while also reading this tiny little book because a lot of the stuff overlaps. So that's pretty cool. And then the final essay at the back of this book is called What Made Shakespeare Laugh? And then there's a section at the end for the epilogue, and it's where the author is talking about his experiences working with Shakespeare's work for 80 years, which is wild. So yeah, very excited to be almost done with this one. So this is the main one that I plan on finishing this weekend. And then last night after I finished Starter Villain, I started another one for my April reading, my April TBR, and this one is Aurora by Kim Stanley Robinson. So this one is a science fiction about like the people that have survived like the end of the world or something, and they're in like a huge ship and going into space or something like that. I need to actually look up what the hell this book is about because I don't entirely remember. But I gotta tell you guys, this is pissing me off. There are no chapters. That pisses me off. I hate that. So they're like section breaks. You can see they break with like these little dots so that you can at least like read to the next stopping point. But it's just in parts. It's like part 1, part 2, part 3. There's no chapters. And I typically don't love